Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Kirk Rifles coming to you with a little bit of market research. So this past week I talked about how Lexus in the United States is doing okay. They're doing fine. It's not like they're giving up market share or anything like that. I wanted to look worldwide, have a bigger scope because Lexus is not just America. Even though they started here, it's not just America. So we're going to take a look worldwide. After you smash that like button, subscribe for more Lexus news and automotive talk. And let's just jump over to the computer and dive into some articles just to discuss the worldwide picture of Lexus. Let's jump over. First one is Lexus Enthusiast always does a really good job every single month that Lexus posts their sales figures. Lexus Enthusiast always posts this nice clean graph that talks about what's going on. So if we look at year to date so far compared to last year, they're up just 0.2%. They're up 357 units. I mean, that's really not, it's nothing, right? When you're looking at 167,000 vehicles. So, I mean, July wasn't the best month for them, but I already made a video on this. So this right here, these numbers inspired me to be like, well, okay, so they've kind of plateaued here in America. So what's going on worldwide? Because they're not just America, even though they started here. So we're going to go over this article by Automotive News, and this one focuses on China. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit for you guys. Okay, that'll do it. So their sales have surged 31% to 109,000 in the first 7 months. Let's go back to Lexus Enthusiast. They're only about 50,000 units away from America. That's crazy. And the rate they're going to surpass America in just a few years. This is nuts. The Japanese brand delivered 160,000 vehicles in China last year, an increase of 21% from the year earlier. Well, if you add, goodness, I'm going to pull up the calculator for you guys. If you add 30% to that, 160, if they grow by another 30% on top of that, they're going to be at 208,000 vehicles this year. That's absolutely insane. And then it could increase the next year and the next year. So China's looking like a very profitable and just a very, very hungry market. I think the Chinese are finally jumping on board. There's a lot of social political reasons why the Chinese don't like Japanese or the Japanese brand too much, but they're starting to realize, like, oh my gosh, Lexus is actually way better than Buick or Cadillac. They're starting to pick up on this. And don't even get me talking on the German brands. So speaking of the German brands, before I leave this article, Lexus entered in China in 2005, and unlike Infiniti and Acura, Lexus does not build vehicles in China, yet it became the 5th largest luxury brand in the country after Audi, Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and Cadillac. Expect them to surpass Cadillac fairly soon, and then probably Audi as well. BMW and Mercedes are going to be a little bit harder to tackle, in my opinion. Okay, next article here. It just talks about, this is Europe sales overall, and this is talking about this is just straight sales numbers. So if we look at, June, if we go across June 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, that's a little bit more every year. If we look at May across, just about a little bit more every year, especially this year. So Lexus is doing really well in Europe right now. And this next article talks about how the new UX and ES are driving a lot of growth. I'm not going to get into this too much. I'll have all these articles in the description below. But we're going to go over the highlights here, which is Lexus Europe sold 40,450 vehicles in the first half of 2019, an increase of 5% last year. Not quite the sales growth of China, but it's still growing. And this market is a little bit harder to break into because Europe is like oh, I like my Mercedes, my BMW, because like that is Europe. They come from Europe, so it's a little bit harder to tap. We're in China. There's no local luxury brand, so they're a lot more fickle. They're gonna the brand loyalty is gonna be much less loyal, if that makes sense. Okay, back to the article. Self-charging hybrid vehicles represented 95% of the sales in Western and Central Europe. So Lexus has a complete dominance and foothold in hybrids. However, that's not the full story because there's a large battery-only electric vehicle market that Lexus has 0% of for now. But give it in the next 5 years, they're going to have probably 3 battery electric. That's just my gut telling me that. Probably 3 battery electric vehicles or variants of their current vehicles by the end of 2025. And I would expect them to do fairly well. I think they're going to do better with those battery electric vehicles here in America than in Europe. And because the reason is there's more competition in Europe. There's more charging in Europe, and Lexus has a much bigger market and loyalty base here in America. So I think those electric vehicles will do better in America. They'll do better in China because China is even faster than Europe switching over to battery electric vehicles. But that might be another video for another time. And then last but not least, sales increase led by the newly launched UX and the ES luxury sedan. To my knowledge, the ES is only offered in a hybrid in the vast majority of countries over in Europe. So that's why, again, 95% of those luxury hybrid sales are Lexus. The remaining 5% might be Acura, might be Volvo. Those are the only 2 luxury brands that I can think of that are, well, there are some Porsches that are hybrid too. So, but between those 3 companies, that's 5% right there. And then let's look at Australia here. So I'm not going to go over too much of this article. I couldn't find a whole lot in Australia. It's a very small market, but I just wanted to get a full global picture here. Lexus has achieved record sales in May on the back of impressive results for its popular SUV range and ES300 mid-size sedan. So Australia is a very unique market. Like big trucks and SUVs do really, really well there compared to like Europe for comparison. And then I just wanted to go down to this point right here. As a result, Lexus sales so far this year have grown to 3,800 vehicles, which is like nothing when you're looking at China that they've already done like 100,000, right? And America's at 160,000. Back to Australia, which is on par with the brand's best ever result at this stage of the calendar year. Even though Lexus in America is kind of flatlined right now, why are they flatlined? Well, maybe the people who are thinking about upgrading are waiting. Why are they waiting? Well, they're waiting for the RX refresh. That's the number one cash cow of Lexus. And then maybe some of those GX owners are waiting to update their GX. So that's a strong possibility because we're getting refreshes on those vehicles in just a few months. RX next month, GX in November. And then if you just take a step back, yes, Lexus is doing okay here in America. They're not growing as much as they would probably like to, but if you look at the big scope of things, they're winning big in China. They're doing pretty good in Europe, which is a really, really tough market. And even in the smaller markets like Australia, they're posting, best ever months and years so far. So what do you guys think? Where do you see Lexus going in the next, 5 years? It's going to be, and I've talked about this either on my stream or in other videos, is Lexus is going to change a lot in the next 5 years. And how is that going to affect its market? We know the brand is going to be unveiling a big, big change in terms of battery electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, and then hybridizing the entire lineup, or at least having a hybrid variant of every vehicle by 2025. So there's a lot of changes. I think they, out of all the luxury companies, probably have the most change that's going to happen in the next 5 years. And why is that? Well, I think it's because they've been so reluctant to change. They are essentially Toyota, and Toyota's about profit margins. They're about, what's the word, conservative? Gosh, the word conservative didn't come to mind for like a minute. they're one of the most conservative car companies. They rest on their laurels pretty strongly. Because they are known to be the most reliable, the most dependable, good service, etc. But in this new age of electronics and technology, they need to be pushing the envelope there, just like they've done with the hybrid lineup when that first came out with the Prius and the RX 400h. They need to be pushing the envelope, and they're realizing this. They're losing market to other companies that maybe don't make as good as vehicles, but their technology is a step ahead. So what do you guys think? I know I've been ranting a little bit now. This is a 12-minute video. I probably could have summed this up in 5 minutes, but I'll see you guys in the comments below. Before I let you go, though, don't forget to support the channel on the Patreon. It really helps me. It'll allow me to continue to post these videos and increasingly better quality and content, and I can devote a little bit more time. Thank you so much for my patrons that already support the channel. Thank you guys. But this F-inspired lunchbox is this monthly giveaway that is exclusive to my patron supporters. So if you guys want this cool lunchbox, if you want to show up to work or school with this really cool lunchbox, support the channel through Patreon. Link will be down in the description. But I will see you guys in the next video. And until next time, peace out.